Okay, we're going to talk about graphing linear and absolute value inequalities. So, let's get to the exercise. So, we all learn better by doing, right? Now, I know you guys know how to graph these by now, so I'm not going to spend too much time on why we're doing this. So, negative, that's a positive 1, so I'm going to go up 1. I have a slope of 3, so I have this right here, and if that's less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, you're going to use a solid line. Since this is not, we're going to use a dotted line. Now, you can do it the hard way and plug in the point 0, 0. If it's true, then shade in the part with the point 0, 0. So let's say we plug in 0 in for y and 0 in for x. I have 0 times 3 plus 1, so that 0 is less than 1, which is true, so we shade in this side. Or you can follow the sign. If it's less than, shade over here. If it's greater than, you're going to shade on this side. So, this is a greater than or equal to, so you're going to have a solid line. Since this already have y on the left hand side and your equation on the right hand side, this rule is going to work. So, negative 5, I'm going to start right here, and it's going to be a solid line because I have greater than or equal to, and if it's greater than, I'm going to shade over here. Just so you guys can trust me, if you plug in 0 in for x and y, 0 is definitely greater than or equal to negative 5. So, right, you don't have to plug in that 0, 0. Just do the cheat sheet way. This faster, easier. Now, this is not in y inequality and your function, so get it that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides, well, 4x. I'm going to have y is less than or equal to 4x minus 1. And this is going to get you at this point right here, negative 4 slope. So I know it's going this way, less than or equal to. I'm going to use a solid line. Now, y is less than. If y is less than, we're going to shade the right side. Okay, this is in y inequality of function, but that's difficult for me to understand. X over 2, so really saying x divided by 2. Dividing by 2 is the same thing as saying multiply by 2. Well, 1/2, I'm sorry, multiply by 1/2. So 1/2 times x is the same thing as x over 2. So now I can draw my slope. Simple. I know I start at negative 4, and I have a slope of 1/2. Well, I'm sorry, these should be dotted lines since it's not equal to, right? It should be dotted lines. Now, we're going to shade y is less than, we're going to shade this side. I know it's kind of difficult to see why you shade this side since there's not really a left and right. but you shade the left side, the right side. Now, this is not y inequalities in the function, so I'm going to get it that way. If I minus x on both sides, I'm going to get y greater than negative x plus 6. Now, plus 6, 2, 4, 2, 4, 6. 6, negative. So I'm going to go down. And once again, is not equal to, so I'm going to use a dotted line. This is going to be good enough for my dotted line. Y is greater than left hand side of the dot. Okay. Now 6, they give you fraction and it's not in y inequality in your function. So what I want to do first is go ahead and minus 0.5x from both sides. You're going to get negative 0.25y is less than negative 0.5x plus 1.5. Now, to get rid of this, I know I can multiply by 4 to get all this decimal and go away. Well, and to get rid of this negative, I need to multiply by a negative. So if you multiply by a negative 4 by the whole thing, you're going to get y. Ooh, sorry, forgot to flip my sign. Multiplying by and dividing by a negative, you're going to flip your sign, right? Flip your sign. This is going to turn to 2. And you get a minus 6 over here. So flip your sign, y is greater than. So you know you're going to shade on this hand side. So negative 6, 2, 4, 6, positive 2 is going to go up this way. And it's going to be a dotted line since it's not equal to. And we're going to shade this side since it's y is greater than. On the back, it's the same thing, but we're dealing with absolute value. So with absolute value, same thing, graph your absolute value. I know I start at 1. Since 1 is on the outside, I know I'm going to move up. And there's no stretch, I know my change is going to be 1 over 1 up. And if y is greater than, then you want to shade the top. Okay. 2, we're not going to worry about. Don't worry about 2. You're not going to see something like that. Now, 3 is not y inequality of function, so we need to get that way. So we need to add to absolute value of x on both sides. Now you're going to get y greater than 2 absolute value of x plus 3. So plus 3, I know I'm here. There's a change, so instead of going 1 over 1 up, I'm going to go over 2 up. And here's my function. Remember, y, dang it, dotted lines. Remember, dotted lines, because you don't have an equal to. So, dotted lines, not solid, dotted line. Now, you're going to shade, since y is greater than, you're going to shade the top. This is in y inequality function, so we don't need to mess with it, just need a graph. So I know I'm going to reflect, and my starting point is negative 3. Since there's not an equal to, it's going to be a dotted line. Now y is less than, you shade the bottom. So shade the bottom. Now 5, that's not y equal or inequality function, so now we need to get it that way. Minus the absolute value of x on both sides. Remember, we're minusing, not dividing or multiplying, so you don't need to flip your sign. So this is going to get you y is greater than or equal to negative absolute value of x plus 4. If it's plus 4, I'm going up. And it's negative, so it's reflect, and I know it's 1, 1 both ways. Since it's equal to, I know it's a solid line. Solid line. Y is greater than, so we're going to shade the top. Okay, last one. This is non-y inequality function, so we need to get that way. First, I'm going to minus this whole thing. Absolute value of x plus 1 on both sides. I'm going to get 2y less than negative absolute value of x plus 1. Okay, now gotta divide by 2. But remember, dividing by 2 is the same thing as multiplying by 1/2. So what else you can also do is negative 1/2 times the absolute value of x plus 1. Okay, now I know I start up 1, negative, so it's going to reflect 1/2. So I'm going to go over 2 and down 1, over 2 and down 1, over 2 and down 1, over 2 and down 1. Now, not a solid line, right? Not equal to. Y is less than. If y is less than, we're going to shade the bottom. Okay, that is it for graphing linear and absolute inequalities. If you have any more questions, ask Ms. Shelton. Don't ask me.